Welcome back to the show. So we're going to continue with our roundup of the last week's football for our London clubs. So we started with the Championship. We're going to jump now to the FA Cup. Not too many games to go through. We'll start with your boys Arsenal. You were at the game. Good win?
I thought it was a fantastic one. I thought it was one of our best performances of the season. I know it's only like a Championship side of Middlesbrough, but you know,
a potential banana skin, seeing as they saw off Man City away. So
Absolutely.
It did look like, but it was moments of madness from the Middlesbrough defence that let in for both your goals.
Oh, absolutely. I think the Middlesbrough defenders are not part of the Wide Away club. I mean, you look at the second goal by Giroud, a corner situation, they're trying to organise who's going to mark who, and we took it quickly.
That's the difference between the Premier League and the Championship.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, you just cannot turn off for 1 minute against
not at all,
a Premier League opposition.
You know, you're 100% spot on. Because you look at the situations that, you know, in the Championship, right, teams like Middlesbrough, they'll probably make a mistake, and because the players that they're playing against are not really match sharp mentally to punish them, they're going to get away with things. Like, for instance, Middlesbrough could play really badly, lose and win 4-3, but in a Premiership, you get punished for every mistake you make. And I think that's the thing with Middlesbrough as well, is that we're ready for them. We knew what happened against Man City. We knew that that they can get behind us with the pace. We knew Bamford was going to be a very strong player for them. So we kind of marched them out of the game and cut off his supply. Adamo as well, we made him defend rather than him attacking us. So in that respect, I thought it was a very good performance.
And a good draw for you boys in the next round.
Oh yeah, we've got a nice easy game at Old Trafford. Yeah, we have a very good record there. Did you know that? We haven't beat Man United since September 2006 when Andy Boyle got the winner.
Yeah, interesting fact for you there. Elsewhere in the FA Cup, Crystal Palace, they played at home to Liverpool. Now, unfortunately, they lost 2-1, so they're out. Kenny, did they play okay?
I think Liverpool were the better side in all departments. I thought Crystal Palace scored a goal, I thought, against run of play. It was, like I said, it was a mix-up between Mignolet and Skirtle, and Campbell capitalised. But I think after that goal, Crystal Palace scored in the 15th minute, I think, 15th, 20th minute. After that goal, Liverpool had enough chances to actually overturn it in the first half. They were very unlucky to go 1-0 down. And I think in the second half, I think when they brought on Balotelli, he kind of... it was basically the fulcrum of Liverpool's attack, and Sturridge was running off him. And I thought he was the catalyst to their win.
I think it's a definite case of quality shone through in the end in that game.
Again, definitely. I thought Liverpool were the better side. I think remember, Palace turned them over. So Liverpool weren't going to let that happen again.
Elsewhere in the FA Cup, West Ham. Now, they were embarrassed by West Brom. They lost 4-0 and ended the game with 10 men. Ken, what happened?
Again, you've got to look at the situation. West Ham are 8th on the table. They're safe. This is a game that Sam Allardyce said that they're going to be up for. They took 6,500 fans.
Who booed at the final whistle.
Deservedly so. It was embarrassing. It was actually not... They shouldn't really boo Sam Allardyce. They should boo the players, because they were an embarrassment. They were a disgrace to the shirt, a disgrace to their fans. They let down themselves more than anything. It was just embarrassing. The white flag went out as soon as West Brom went 2-0 up. It was embarrassing. And the defending for the goals. I've never seen such bad defending in my life.
It was a poor result for West Ham in the end. We'll briefly talk about the Champions League this week. Chelsea were in action and they got a good away draw with PSG. The game ended 1-1, but it was a typical Mourinho away performance in Europe. Chelsea had one shot on target. It was the goal. And now they take a crucial away goal back home.
He got his tactics spot on, Mourinho, because I think if you look at the situation, is that it was like he had two midfielders in there. He had Ramirez to do the sort of dirty jobs, help Matic out with the dirty jobs, and he had Fabregas to sort of like run his pass. But what Fabregas did really well before he came on is that he actually made it a free midfield. So basically, you had Ramirez who was doing like the dog leg biting part, and you had Matic who held, but he actually took the ball out and started some attacks, and obviously Fabregas was passing. But I thought Chelsea's most effective player was actually Hazard, because at the break he actually made PSG, kept their defenders honest. So I thought in that respect it was a very good performance. Everyone says about, like PSG had some really clear-cut chances. The goal was a mistake. Like I said, Cahill's defending and Terry's defending was a disgrace as well.
They left Cavani unmarked.
Well, definitely, yeah, because I think Terry was trying to cover Azpilicueta when he didn't even need to do that, because Azpilicueta actually had the left side of their defence covered, and then Cahill It was too busy ball watching.
I think we expect them to play better in the home leg and come out fighting again, a bit more.
Did they play badly? No, they didn't.
Well, they did what Mourinho set them out to do, and it was defend, try and score a goal, and then sit back and defend it. It's what they did in the League Cup semi-final at Liverpool, and it is what Mourinho does.
It's what they do very well.
Now, we won't get drawn into what's going on around that game. Obviously, there's some controversy that's been happening. We will say that from the London Football Show Live that any behaviour like that is an absolute disgrace, and we hope that Chelsea Football Club take the appropriate action.
Definitely. And I think one more thing I'd like to say is that do not call yourself Chelsea fans, because you disgraced a very illustrious club who are basically employed.
Especially a team that's had trouble with it in the past.
Definitely.
You've got the whole John Terry incident from a few years ago, and it's publicity like this really doesn't help a club like Chelsea. It
doesn't help with a club at all. And the other thing as well, this is like back in the 70s when the National Front used to actually, recruit in a shed. We can't go back to those times. It's not going to happen. You're gonna, if you want to behave like that, you need to find some other pastime. Leave football alone.
Well, let's just hope that the club and the FA take the appropriate action.
We hope so as well.
Ban those supporters for life. There was a Europa League game tonight involving our very own Tottenham Hotspur, and I think the game ended 1-1. I think we started just before it finished. It was 1-1 with about 5 minutes to go, so I think it's ended 1-1 there. Not a great result if it has ended 1-1.
Again, you look at the situations that I think, all right, it's a bad result on the day, and I think Fiorentina probably defended. I know Soldado put them ahead with a very good goal. However, again, Spurs had chances to win that game, and then
so did Fiorentina.
Definitely,
Salah had a lot of chances.
It's definitely Salah. It's a very open game, but you look at the situations that are Spurs actually going to take this competition seriously, or are they going to shadow box? Because you and I know whenever Spurs play on a Thursday and they play on a Sunday, something happens. That they play teams that are fresh, and what happens, especially when at White Hart Lane, teams to sort of sit. We're going to talk about it later, but teams sit back, hit Spurs on a break, and the energy seems to go out of the team.
Well, elsewhere, we'll move on now to the to the rest of the Championship games. We've covered Brentford a bit earlier on against Charlton. We'll move on now to Fulham. Now, Kenny, they lost 2-1 at home to Ipswich. They're 5 points above the relegation zone. Now, we were talking a few weeks ago about them pushing for the playoffs.
We forget that.
They now have a 6-pointer coming up at the weekend, which we'll talk about a bit later. But for the moment, Fulham are in trouble.
You're in trouble because simple reason is that, again, we mentioned a lot of times, is that there doesn't seem to be the quality in the areas I'd like. In midfield, there doesn't seem to be no quality. I mean, Brian Ruiz played at the weekend.
But we know the situation there. He's actually come out and done an interview for South American TV, and he's openly said, I don't want to be at Fulham. Like, they all know that there. I came here to play Premier League football. That's not been the case, so I now want to leave. Yeah. Now, when a player says that, should he be still playing for that club?
Simple reason, because he's employed and paid a lot of money to play football.
No, I agree with that, but when you turn out week in, week out, and you watch his performances and the lack of fight that he shows...
Yeah, but he did that in the Premiership. He was one of the reasons why you got relegated.
Well, I think there's more than just that one reason.
What I'm trying to say about Ruiz, again, you need that creative hub in midfield. You cannot rely on Christensen, who, again, is a player that you can get big money for. So, in that respect, Scott Parker can't do it on his own. He can't lead the troops and lead the front. Remember, Scott Parker's 33, 34. So you're going to need younger legs in that midfield. And again, defending, I mean, it's neglectful. Both the goals were silly goals to give away. Absolutely ridiculous.
Fulham only had one shot on target.
Not at all, and that was a goal.
Game, and that was the
goal.
That was a
goal.
So it is slightly worrying.
But again, you've got to ask yourself a question. You've paid £11 million for Ross McCormack. Are you getting £11 million worth? Because at the end of the day, you bought a striker who's not a striker, who basically, when you pay £11 million for a player, I'm looking at a player who just basically bang, goal, not someone who plays... 1 minute he's playing right wing, then he's playing left wing, then he's playing behind the front too. Sorry. At that level, he should be scoring more goals.
It does seem that Simons doesn't overly know where he's most effective.
Well, I was always against Simons getting the job in the first place. I thought you should have gone for a bigger name.
Interestingly enough, with the Warburton situation going on, that he's now strongly linked with a move to Fulham.
He's also linked to QPR or Leicester. So, like I said, you've got to look at the situation about the infrastructure. Obviously, he's going to have more money to spend at Fulham and a bigger ground, and obviously more to work with. And maybe he might get some hungry Brentford players to come and play for you guys.
Could even have Charlie Adams.
Absolutely. Charlie Adams, are you listening? Watch this space.
Elsewhere in the Championship, Millwall, they lost 1-0 to Leeds. Not the best result for Millwall, but did you expect them to get anything from that game?
Yes, I did, because simple reasons that their away form is last week I used the word Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I thought Mr. Hyde might turn up at Ellen Road. Leeds got an early goal, and then basically by, I think, Moxham, and it basically killed the game, really. I know Ian Holloway was very angry about his mention about refereeing decisions here and there, but didn't really threaten Millwall.
They're still very much in the mix, Millwall. They're just one point inside the relegation zone.
And Brighton actually got a point. So again, you don't want a situation.
Because it was goal difference. It's now a point. But with Millwall playing home to Fulham at the weekend, it is worrying.
Well, that's something we're going to look into, because
we will talk about that a little bit later. Elsewhere in the Championship, Watford, they won 4-3 away to Bolton. Now, a great result, seeing as the goal from Troy Deeney came in the last minute of the game.
Well, like I said, it was a fantastic result. It was a very kamikaze game. There was some really good performances from, obviously, by the goal scorers. Obviously, like Igalo Ked. We had a Weldy, which we're going to talk about, and Vitra scored as well. But again, it's what we're talking about. The quality. Middlesbrough, Watford and Bournemouth, they'll make mistakes, but they won't get punished for their mistakes. You look at Watford. If they come up to the Premiership, it's things like that you need to eradicate. They shouldn't be scoring 4 to win. The one goal should be enough, and I think that's where they're going to be found out in the Premiership. But that's a long way to go. There were a lot of things I wasn't happy with in terms of the defending, for especially Bolton's goals. Especially the goals that Clough scored. It was like, where was the defence? They were nowhere. And then obviously they relied heavily on Gomez to make a couple of world-class saves in order to keep them in the game and actually to nick the game, because they actually nicked it. Obviously they stole it because like I said, Bolton were actually looking strong and looking more likely.
Well, it's a massive 3 points for them.
Absolutely,
they're now 5th in the table. And we'll move down to League One. Leyton Orient had 2 games over the past week. They actually beat Chesterfield 3-2 away, but they followed it up with a 2-0 home defeat to Bradford. So very Jekyll and Hyde there.
Well, absolutely, Miss Jekyll and Hyde. But I think for some reason I've been calling Liverani a clown. I've been calling Bacchetti a clown. Oh, he is a clown anyway. But for some reason, I don't know where it is, the players seem to be playing for Liverani. I don't know whether he's got this sort of siege mentality, no one likes us, we don't care. But players like Mooney and Dagnall have actually improved under him. I don't think he's actually made them better players, but he's actually motivated them more. I think the actual fear of going down to the last tier of English football is actually scaring them.
And the winner came in the 101st minute, so in the 11th minute of added time.
Absolutely.
Well, it was Dean Cox that popped up with the winner.
Dean Cox, Mooney got a couple of good goals, and you always thought that they were in front. They were actually playing very well, and Chesterfield have got a very good record, although they're going through a bad patch, but it was a very good win. And I just want to say, on behalf of the London Football Show, congratulations to the guy who put a bet on. He got 40 results, and the 40th result that came in was on the 101st minute when Dean Cox got that goal, and he made, I believe, £170,000. So congratulations, whoever you are.
He's a big fan of Dean Cox now,
absolutely.
Whoever he is.
And whatever you do, can you lend us some money, please? Lend us a tenner.
We'll move on to League Two now, and AFC Wimbledon. We've only got a minute left, so we'll quickly go through these. AFC Wimbledon, they lost 2-0 to the league leaders, Shrewsbury, and Dagenham and Redbridge, they won. They won 3-2 at Morecambe.
Definitely, the goals going to Curison again. Got a goal.
He's popped up with a few in recent weeks.
DeBayo's got a go as well. So, again, their waveform seems to be very good. And
they took the lead after 17 seconds, so they hit the ground running.
Exactly, 17 seconds goal. Look, is that probably the quickest goal, quickest goal I've seen? I think it's probably 6 seconds, slower than Ledley King's, goal in the Premiership back in 2001 for Spurs against Bradford. But again, very good result. At home, they struggle for me. But away from home, I think when the pressure's off, when they play away from the Barking and Dagenham Stadium, I think it's the same for all our London sides, really. They don't perform that well at home.
And a few weeks ago, we were talking about them kind of sinking without a trace. They're now 17th and 6 points above the drop. So it is a great turnaround.
Little run they're having, little wins here and there, not dropping points. I think they're very involved. ASC Malden were just playing against a better team than them.
Definitely. So join us after this break, where we'll be taking a look at our highs and lows of the week that's been.
Are you a special one? Have you got what it takes? It takes a